Greetings, it's a nearly Christmas miracle. I'm making another video. I'm sorry to have been letting it slide for so long, but I've been very busy off camera with some other things. Hopefully be able to share them in the near future. But I wanted to tell you that I'm getting back into the business of making some regular videos. I got a couple projects lined up that I think will be enlightening and hopefully educational and fun at the same time. Wanted to take, first of all, a moment out to say Merry Christmas to all of you out there. Hope you're enjoying the season with your family, your loved ones, your other in-laws or outlaws, or whoever you are close to at this time of year. It's hard to believe it's Christmas. It's the 22nd of December. In Raleigh, it is 76 freaking degrees outside. Even we are acknowledging this is hot out compared to normal. Normal high is mid-50s this time of year. It is 76 frickin' degrees outside. And it's supposed to get hotter as the day goes on and then taper off. But you didn't tune in here for the weather. But just got back from my church's cantata. Helps you get into the Christmas season. I don't care what you believe, to quote the Good Shepherd book. I don't care what you believe, but I think it's important that you believe in something. If you think you are the top of the food chain, you are the pinnacle of creation, I'm going to disagree and say, it probably would behoove you to believe that there's something bigger out there. Again, I don't care what you believe. I just think it's important that you do. But anyway, Merry Christmas and back to business. I've got a couple projects lined up that I think will cover the spectrum of model building and painting and particularly using my templates. I've got two projects lined up, and let me grab the camera and show you what we got. Okay, the first subject of the two that I'm going to be working on is the Mobius Classic Viper. And before I can start any construction, I have to do a little bit of destruction. First thing I need to do is to alter the cockpit tub to work with the Paragraphics Photo Etch. I highly recommend it. I don't know if I'd even build a model these days without seeing first if there's some photo etch from Paragraphics to go with it, because they just make the kits look that much better. And it's not doesn't add that much time to your build schedule to do it. It really is an extra step that pays off good. So I'm going to have to cut holes in there for that. I'm not going to show you all of that detail because the instructions will more or less cover that, or they do a very good job of covering that. So I'll leave that to the experts. But the other thing I wanted to do as far as altering the construction method is in the wing attachments. Now, if you follow the instructions the way Mobius asks you to do it, you run into what I consider a build issue that I don't know if it could have been addressed easier. I'll show you what I'm going to do, and you're free to take that with you or not. What the Mobius ship instructions ask you to do is basically build up this chunk and then trap the wing around those pegs and then glue the top to it, which is all well and good. But what that doesn't allow you to do is get in behind here very well to sand it or to putty it or to seam it. And it also makes painting in this area and around the wing a little bit harder than it needs to be. What I prefer to do, and you can see it, the idea here marked out, was I decided to cut slots where you see these black marks. Cut slots straight down from the hole to the outside, and it ends up looking like this. I'll put some contrasting paper behind it so that you can see it easier. You've got slots cut out that go all the way down. What that allows me to do is to take a completed wing. Now when I say completed, I mean you can now paint these wings, build them, putty them, sand them, paint them, weather them if you want to, and then take that completed wing and simply slide it up around those pins and finish your gluing that way. That allows you to do all of this painting, all of this weathering, all of this sanding. Do that first and do that off to the side. While you're working on these, you can have several parts of the ship going at the same time. But then that allows you to slide these wings on at the last bit. And I just think that's a better construction method than having to trap the two halves of these around here and then worry about your sanding and puttying. So I'm going to do that. Some people have asked me, well, could you go through the steps and show us how you create a template? Yeah, I can. And I'm going to do it with this canopy. The canopy that for this new set does not match the contours or the geometry, not geography, the geometry of the Classic cockpit. It looks very similar, but the shapes are a little bit off. So I'm going to go through this step by step of how I create new templates for this. And that's going to be the subject of its own video entry. But I'm also going to be working up the templates for the painting of the stripes, the main stripe, the wing stripes, anything that's an orange stripe is going to be painted on. Because I think painting is better than using decals, particularly when it comes to weathering, simply because you have a consistent surface and your weathering, when everything is consistent, is going to look more natural than if you are weathering over paint, then all of a sudden you run into a piece of paper or a film that is your decal. It does, to me, they're just so dissimilar that they don't give a good cohesive look to it. So I've been toying around with the idea of what the stripes would look like, and they're based on the decal sheet that comes with the kit. They went the extra step of making two different versions of the decals, one that is more in line with the standing full-size prop, and one that is in line with the filming miniature. For the purposes of this build, I'm going to be using the landing gear and the variations that make it look like the full-size prop, because I like that they went to that extra step. Lord knows I've built enough of the classic version of the Viper that I don't need another one that looks like the filming miniature. I want to build something that looks like the freestanding prop. So those will be the decals I'm going to be emulating with the painting templates. See, there is what the orange wing or the orangish red wing stripe would look like. And so that's what I'm going to be showing you how those templates go on. So that is subject number 1. And let me clear this off and get back to you with subject number 2. Okay, and we're back with subject number 2. A subject that's near and dear to my heart, the NX. It was because of the NX that I got into this topsy-turvy business in the first place. It was with the 350 scale NX that I made my first template set, these many years ago. And I also came out with a set for the 1000 scale NX when it came out. And now we have the refit of the 1000 scale NX. And that is going to be the next example. I am going to use the existing template set that I already have for the 1000 scale NX to show how those work, but I'm also going to be adding to it for these additional pieces that need to be made to fit the new secondary hull. The first thing I'm going to do, as I mentioned on the other ship, was the deconstruction as opposed to the construction. Now, I'm not going to do anything more destructive to this ship than to open up all of the windows. I'm going to try some rudimentary lighting. I'm not going to try to get light into every nook and cranny. The ship is kind of small. The access ways and channels for lighting are not open like I would like. Just as an example, there are pins right where you would put bulbs, things like that. how would you get around that? You want to put a light right here, but there's a big pin locator, and frankly some of these pins you need to hold the ship together. So lighting is not a primary concern. If I can get some lights into the windows, that's great. But what I wanted to do was to open up some of these windows, because I think just the indents themselves are a little too shallow. And by finish drilling them all the way through, you can I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these just to show you get so much better detail relief and shadow lines just from opening up those windows. So that's going to be the extent of the additional work I'm going to do on these ships, or on the NX 1000 scale. So that's the plan for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be working through these, and the next time you see both of these ships, they will be all chewed up and ready to be put together. Okay, it's been 3-4 minutes. Not been very long at all. I've got the first side done. I've got the holes drilled, and they may look a little out. They may look a little out of scale to you, and perhaps they are. But, and this is a big but, I'm planning that the primer that I'm going to put over this is going to close them in a little bit. Just like these grid lines are a little prominent, the windows are a little prominent, and I'm hoping that the once I get a coat of primer over this, that will close them in a little bit. If I made them too small and the primer closed them off completely, then what's the purpose? So that's the thinking behind those. And these took next to no time to put in. Quick little twist drill and a wee tiny bit. There's 2 more, and this time it took to say that. But that's going along nicely. So like I said, next time you see these will be all cut up and ready to go.